Thank you. My name is Louisa Hillwood. I'm here representing the Plant-Based Council's campaign. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak today. So in October...
Apologies, can I just ask the banners be removed? Thank you very much. We will be listening to the question and the answer. Thank you.
In October 2022, I asked whether Hackney Council would switch to fully plant-based catering in internal meetings and events to address food-related emissions. Could the Cabinet Member, Councillor Caban, please provide an update on this? And if councillors still have concerns, will they meet with me to discuss it further?
Thank you. Councillor Coburn, will you please respond? You have up to 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Can I firstly also just take this opportunity to echo your words and congratulate my good friend, Mayor Woodley, on her election. A resounding victory for Hackney Labour and a massive reality check for those who are across the chamber today. And what we did see in that election, which we didn't speak about, was that Hackney chose hope over fear in what my time as a councillor for 10 years was one of the most disgusting campaigns, and I think it should be called out for what it was. I think turning to the question by Louise, while Hackney Council has a commitment to try to move towards a plant-based treaty, I think what's really important to recognise is the diversity of our borough. And Hackney is, most people will know in this room, is a very diverse borough. It's got one of the largest Turkish-speaking communities in our borough. It's got one of the biggest Haredi Jewish communities in the Western world in our borough. We've got a huge Vietnamese community, a massive Black African Caribbean community. And as such, and the reason why I'm talking about these is because as part of that is we've got to take these communities on a journey on how we tackle the climate emergency. And it's about how do we work with them to make sure that we can help support them in that transition. And that's what our climate action plan is about. The climate action plan sets out how we're going to reach net zero by 2030. It sets out 5 different thematic areas, one of them being consumption and how we could reduce emissions in that area. But it's really important that we don't fall into the trap in terms of telling our residents how they should live our life. But also, as you can see in this chamber here today, it's a very, very diverse group of members here. And we have to recognise that transition and not sort of fall into that trap of telling them how they should be living their lives. I think what's really important is to note what we have done in this space and what we have been doing and what our ambitions are towards the shift towards 2030. And one of the things, Madam Speaker, that you'll remember is in the May AGM where you were brought in as the new speaker, we actually had 50% plant-based catering, but also we had fish and meat. And what we saw was that carbon emissions from that day alone was 50% less than in previous years as well. So we have to recognise the good steps that we have taken in relation to that. One of the other things that we have been doing is our sustainability and climate team has been leading on a London-wide campaign called Eat Like a Londoner. And this is a collaboration that we have, I believe, with 27 other boroughs. And the initiative is supported by a crowd-funded budget of £400,000. And it's designed to reduce food waste and promote more plant-based with further promotions planned for 2024. Look, in summary, I think whilst we are supportive towards the shift towards a more plant-based sort of diet, going back to earlier what I said, I think we have to recognise why the diversity in our borough and that shift towards it. Because often, Louise, what I often get as a councillor is, I think we've really got to be sensitive to this, is we've got to understand that the climate injustice that we do have across the globe, not just here in Hackney, is not caused by individual people, it's caused by the fossil fuel industries, and we've got to help tackle some of the injustices in those areas. So as such, it would be wrong of us to be expecting people to be continuously making sacrifices on that transition to net zero. And that's why, if you look at our climate action plan, Hackney Labour's Green New Deal, £61 million investment into what we're doing around community energy. So this week, I was just joined by Mayor Woodley and lots of other colleagues across as well, how we're supporting our transition to net zero and reducing the emissions from our buildings, but also what we're doing around helping support businesses on that transition too. So what we, in summary, to your question, we will work towards it, but we're not going to be forcing our residents to move towards a plant-based treaty. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms Hillwood, do you have a supplementary question?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out I'm actually not representing plant-based trading from plant-based councils, and I completely understand your point about not wanting to force residents into anything, but the council does need to lead the way. And if there was a report in 2021, London report, if Londoners reduced their meat intake by 70%, it would cut London's consumption-based emissions by 20%.
Ms Hillwood, can you put it in a question?
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Of course. So, yeah, and in terms of, I keep going to want to respond to your point. My question was, you still obviously have a lot of concerns. Will you meet with me, or is there a environmental committee that I can come and speak to discuss these further? Because we obviously don't have time to do it right now.
Just to respond, I mean, I think we very much welcome your input into our climate action plan and obviously our plans around how we can reduce consumption emissions. And I know that we've been corresponding actually with Councillor Kennedy in the room as well, so it's good to put a face to a name. I think, look, we totally agree with you that we've got to reduce our consumption emissions, and that's why the climate action plan sets out those 5 different thematic areas. You know, we're looking at our buildings, we're looking at environmental policy, what we're doing around transport emissions, and the very radical, bold agenda that we have in that area, specifically consumption and adaptation as well. What we want to do, Louise, is really make sure that we have a process in which how we can make sure that, you know, we take people along with us on that journey, and really recognise some of the challenges that some of the communities will face in that transition as we move there. But look, more than happy to meet with you. There are lots of different functions of the councils that you can be involved with to get your voice across. We obviously had the Climate Assembly, where it was an opportunity for residents to come in and submit their views as we developed the Climate Action Plan. We obviously had the consultation that went out subsequently from that Climate Assembly, and obviously residents submitted their views to that as well, and I believe you were there as well. So we want to continue to have that engagement with you. I'm happy to meet you personally. I'm happy to correspond with you if you need any information, and I'm sure that Councillor Kennedy is also happy to do that too, and we're very much looking forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for attending this evening, Ms Hillwood. I understand that Dr. Noah Berkstead-Breen, who submitted a question at 6.3, is unable to be here.